Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Well, I'm pretty pumped up. It's been a big week for crypto. It's been a big week for Nuggets News. And I wanted to start off by giving a huge shout out to my sidekick, Benny Simpson. He created that masterpiece, Australia's Coming Financial Crisis. We've got 10,000 views in the first 24 hours. He did this on a budget of $0. And as yesterday, second grade captain at our cricket club, he made a gutsy 99 on a wet wicket. So it's been a big weekend for him. I just want to thank you guys for the support, particularly our 1,000+ premium members. It's been tough work in the bear market, and thanks to you guys, we've been able to maintain a little team and keep producing high quality content during what's been over a year-long bear market. Final reminder that we are heading to EdCon in Sydney. I hope to see you guys there. Vitalik, all the big developers are coming, and I can't wait to interview them all and bring you guys some fantastic interviews as well. But let's get into the crypto news. So across the board, we've got green everywhere. EOS up 50%. Maker up another 45% after a huge week last week. I'm going to talk about why I love this coin so much and where I think it's heading. But on this day in crypto history, and I just want to start off by again, thanking you guys. It's been a year since we made the decision to make a video every day for a year, regardless of market conditions, and see how we go. So 5 YouTube videos, 2 premium videos for members each week, and we did finally get there, and I've loved creating that content for you guys. So it was this day last year when Vitalik warned that crypto could go to zero, and this was right as the alt market had started to roll over, and I don't think many people believed him. In 2017, Bitcoin reached a new high of $1,300. In 2016, nearly 80% of the Bitcoin core community and miners committed to raising the block size, and this was right as we're heading into this contentious debate about SegWit and raising the block size, and we haven't got that yet. In 2015, Stripe integrates Bitcoin payments. A lot of you guys use that for business now, integrating crypto payments. Mt. Gox closed in 2014 after those rumors. And in 2013, Kim.com started accepting Bitcoin. So into the macro news, and Westpac is now facing class action that could be the first of many. This is the fallout from the Royal Commission. Going to be very interesting to see if the other banks get dragged into this as well for pushing mortgages and investment products on people that weren't financially literate, that didn't understand what they were getting into, that they couldn't afford. Jumping over to America now, this is something I'll continue to cover because I just have seen this firsthand. The Opioid Crisis, it's now killed more people than the Vietnam War, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down. Something has to happen. I'm a big believer that there's natural remedies out there, and I'll continue to cover that topic for you guys as well. Craft fell by 20% this week. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's fund, was a huge investor in these consumer staples, and he lost $2.8 billion in one day. He's actually lost $25 billion recently, and a lot of these assets, he's starting to come up with excuses on why stock markets are falling and so on. But I think we're going to see a different sort of company innovate, and I'll talk about that shortly. But basically, we've had a huge rally, and I did talk about when we're falling that I don't think this is the bear market. This isn't the global collapse that a lot of people are sort of waiting for. And every year, there's YouTube channels out there that say it's going to happen next year. I don't think we're quite there yet. And my base case is probably a slow burn for this debt to unwind, as we've seen in Japan. So we have had a mammoth rally in stock markets. Look, there's talk that the US-China trade war is going to end, and that's all going well. As I've said, the Fed have backed off their rate hikes, and they've talked about more money printing. So for the time being, the bubble's either going to keep getting bigger or go sideways if this is the two main narratives and they don't really change. However, in the very short term, I now think that we maybe have got a little bit too excited too fast. And when short interest, whether we're talking about Bitcoin, crypto, or the stock market, when the number of shorts is at 12-year lows, that tends to be when markets can go lower because everyone's on the one side of the boat. Nobody thinks things are going to go down. There's only room for people to move to the other side of the boat. So short interest, lowest levels in 12 years, maybe we're in for some weakness short term. In terms of these innovative companies, have a read through this list. And I did a video about the next industrial revolution and how a lot of this innovation comes from smart, independent, young minds. We don't see, Apple topping this list like they used to. The big tech companies, I think they're going to start to lose market share and have to pay their dues as people wake up to the fact that they've been free to use because they sell all your personal data, and that business model not really sustainable anymore. It's starting to come time to pay the piper, and people are waking up to what they're really doing. So have a read through that article if you want to read through some of the most innovative companies. I definitely think there should be more blockchain companies in this list. Now, YouTube this week decided to demonetize all anti-vaxxer channels. Now, this is I'm a little bit conflicted as a pharmacist with this. We know that vaccines have eradicated so many horrible diseases, and those rates have fallen. And now there is some counter arguments here. This is a debate that needs to be had. I'm a believer that we might look back and say, look, do our children really need to have 50 or 100 vaccinations before the time they're 3 years old? We're throwing a lot at their little immune systems. So as always, the truth lies somewhere in between. But I certainly don't want to go into that too much. People are so passionate and so black and white about these sort of topics. But it's disappointing to see that YouTube are deciding, what content is allowed to be created and what's not. And this is going to lead that move to a lot of people away from this now becoming mainstream media to alternate platforms. So into the crypto news now, we've got Nuo Network, and this is another great example of decentralized finance starting to blossom. So down the bottom here, you've got lend or borrow, and you can create these leverage positions with a number of coins here in a decentralized fashion. So I've done tutorials on Radar Relay, DYDX. I might do a tutorial on this one for you guys, how you can margin trade from your own wallet without any exchanges now. IOTA Foundation partners with Incubator Nova to fund startups using blockchain. And IOTA has been making some steady progress back there. If you follow my channel, you know the main thing I'm waiting for is IOTA to remove those coordinated nodes and prove that the Tangle technology and Internet of Things can all talk to each other without that degree of centralization. So I think IOTA's, again, we're going to find out who's been busy building during this bear market. And I think IOTA are one of those companies. Now, Binance has been in the news a lot lately, and this has got a lot of people upset. And to be 100% honest, guys, this isn't a DEX. This is not what I had in mind. I was really hoping Binance would launch their chain. Anyone like myself would be able to lock up BNB coins from their wallet, a proof of stake model, and we can help support the blockchain. We can trade directly peer-to-peer. And what they've produced is very, very centralized at this point. And in the testnet, we're not even trading the tokens. We're just trading representation. So if I am being honest, I'm a little bit disappointed here. I'll always tell you guys how it is. Maybe they change their model in the future, but I think there's far better decentralized exchanges out there. So one by one, we're seeing these countries line up to welcome this innovation. And Thailand's the latest one to greenlight issuance and trading of security tokens. Brazil aiming to raise 15 million through a security token offering. Brazilian bank there. We know the high end of town are getting on board. Overstock CEO talking about T0 and those trading volumes. They're going to pick up. We're right here, guys. We know that next run, that next wave of excitement, it's going to look different to the previous one, but it is around the corner. And Pantera has raised 125 million for its third crypto fund. Now, if you're one of the guys that invested in their earlier funds at the top of the bull market, you're a little bit upset. If you're one of the guys that's put in 125 million and dollar cost average throughout the second half of 2018, you're probably pretty happy, and you might already even be staring at some big profits with the run we've had recently in the good projects. Now, this week the SEC settled a case against Gladius, and they did charge them. It was really a slap on the wrist. They didn't really get in any trouble as long as they're returning the funds to investors. And this is interesting to see that there's not huge fines, jail time, all these threats that a lot of people were sort of fearful of. I want them to crack down the scams, but if people realize they've done the wrong thing and hand the Ethereum back to investors, I think this is a great way to, settle it. If you are going to admit that you weren't the best project, you shouldn't have done an ICO, and so on. Now, this week was a big week for Horizon State. So the South Australian government confirmed they'll be holding an official election using their blockchain-based system and the HST token. This is what we've been waiting for. But the big news for me was that Bittrex Exchange, that has these strict procedures about how to list tokens so that they're compliant with US securities laws. And all these people out there that are chanting, all ICOs are scams, they're all securities, this is all illegal. I think this is finally starting to prove the naysayers wrong. Horizon State taking a great step in the right direction. Pretty soon we're talking to Treasury to hopefully get some frameworks in place so that we can give the good projects in Australia a rubber stamp of approval, so we're not in this limbo, this fear, and people don't know what they can and can't do. iExec is another decentralized cloud-based computing project I've done full fundamental analysis on if you want more information, but they recently won an award, an investment of 2 million euros. These good projects are starting to come to the surface, and that's why I said I'm pumped at the start of this video, guys. Fundamentals have meant nothing for the past year or two. Everything went up in the last bull market, and the next cycle, I believe, is the projects with good fundamentals. That's why I've done fundamental analysis from day one. They're the ones that are going to be rewarded. Now, DGX gave a dev update this week. DGX is a gold-based token platform. I've done full fundamental analysis on this one as well, but they're starting to get to the point where they're ready to launch their governance platform. And what we're witnessing is people realize the power of these very early ICOs that did have a good use case, a good utility, a good platform, and there is power behind the governance of what they're doing. And these projects are the ones that are going to start to shine, and I think DGX is one of those. Funfair, another one that updated their roadmap. If you watched that interview I did with Jez, I'm really looking forward to what they put out to onboard users. I really want to help them make some tutorials and get you guys familiar and happy with how to use Funfair technology and their decentralized peer-to-peer gambling. Loom is another project making great progress, launching their plasma chain. So staking from your own wallet, you can stake with other people, you can designate tokens. If people designate to you, you can give them back rewards. This is the sort of proof of stake blockchain that I love to see, and also being built on the plasma chain. We know Go do great work in that area, but so many other projects are now showing that this technology works really well. And I also showed you that game Plasma Dog last week, so starting to come to life, that plasma scaling technology. Now, one of the Ethereum core devs quit this week over conflicts of interest, as it said. I think this is a little bit of, BS on the behalf of the community. And as someone that's, been trolled a lot, people forget that everyone's human. People do their best. Afri was, as far as I'm concerned, he was a great guy, but he just took an onslaught of criticism and said, why should I have to put up with this? I've been doing so much for the community, developer. So, the real OGs, the guys that have been around a while, they know Afri. They know he's a good guy. It's disappointing that social media can push someone so far. As I said, guys, write a comment if you don't agree with someone. Let them know. Have a mature debate. But all this online trolling and whatever, it does hurt people's feelings and pushes people to these extremes. 500 million ETH have now voted in favor of programmed proof of work. This is the change that we've been speaking about for Ethereum, to change the algorithm so it's ASIC proof, so that if this proof of stake gets delayed another 12 or 24 months, we're not going to have all these ASIC miners, these mining pools absolutely dominating the mining space and getting what they want. So this isn't set in stone yet, but I think you'd have to say this is going to be seriously considered for a hard fork in the coming months, now that this percentage has got so high. Final news about Bitcoin and Ethereum I wanted to touch on was this Dubai property giant rumored to be accepting Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this is going to become a status symbol. People are going to want to brag about how many Bitcoin and ETH they own, just as these these sheikhs in Dubai and these countries want to brag about how many Lambos they have, how many properties they have, all this sort of thing. Bigger is better. People want to show off their riches, and I think that's institutional wealth. FOMO is going to be part of the next cycle. So one of the things I've been speaking about is Lightning getting easier and easier. And this week I added the Lightning Tip in Me app on Twitter. It's so easy to use the wallet of Satoshi or Blue Wallet and have a play around with Lightning. And one by one, we're going to have an easier way to run your own node to further decentralize the network. And this is what we've been hoping to come out, a do-it-yourself Lightning node. Plug in, There's some great Casa nodes out there for Bitcoin. If you're not technically savvy, you're still going to be able to support the network. All part of this learning process. It's like getting a modem and learning how to participate in the internet in the early days, guys. I'd encourage you all to do this. I'll probably do a tutorial on the channel at some stage. Now, insurance and custody is another huge part of the next wave of innovation that's coming, and BitGo offering $100 million in crypto insurance through a trusted Lloyd's of London household name. Everyone knows them, and this is that vote of confidence that people know their crypto's insured. Previously, if you want to pump in a few $1 million and lose your private key, there's just no recourse. Whereas now people have these good methods in place, offline storage, cold wallets, good practice, and they can insure their crypto. And here we have a piece of news we have been waiting for, and we did post about a couple of weeks ago that tech giant Samsung has released their new Galaxy S10, or a range of phones, and they do include an Bitcoin and Ethereum wallet. Now, this is encrypted storage of private keys. We're making the trade-off between those that are never going to take the time to learn how to set up their own wallet, and we're going to go for custody, versus this. I guess this is in the middle somewhere for them to encryptedly store your private key, versus those of us that are happy to set it all up and store it ourselves on a hardware wallet. I'd encourage you to use one of those. But great news, huge phone company, public awareness, it's all starting to come together, guys. And just when we see the price go green for a couple of days, we get people messaging us, we get the predictions come back. IBM Crypto Chief sets a $1 million target. Now, I've done my 3-part series about how I think Bitcoin could reach $1 million in the next 10 or 20 years, a bit longer term. I'm not really sure his time frame on this, but it's good to see the big guys out there putting out some predictions into the space again after what's been a pretty bearish time. So I want to focus on Maker for a second. And on February, I think it was early February here on the 13th or so, I posted about Maker, and it's gone from $500 to $750 at the time. Now, the first thing that a lot of noobs said to me was, I'd never buy a coin that's that expensive. I'd rather buy a coin that's 1 cent so I can own 100,000 of them. Guys, price does not matter. You need to get your head around that concept, or you're never going to be a good investor. Something that has a lower price isn't cheaper. It isn't better value. The only thing that is important is market cap, what the project is doing, and how big they can grow. So this is a project that I've done 2 detailed videos on for members this week about some price targets, where I think this project is going, and 4 other coins that I think it's going to drag up in price with it along the way. So I want to talk about sentiment now, one of my big tools that I use to see the direction of the market. And this is from February 5th, where everyone was really bearish, particularly a lot of the traders in our group. 81% of people were bearish. And just like I said earlier, when everyone's bearish, we'd had 6 red weeks. There's only room for sentiment to improve. I spoke about this double bottom pattern, Adam and Eve, and when everyone's expecting the lower low to come, it just doesn't ever come. And we're now looking to almost complete this pattern on the weekly chart. And if you want to know how to trade this and what the targets are, where this is going, again, I have done a detailed video for members, but I want to talk about this fear greed index and how quickly it's gone from extreme fear about a month ago to greed here. And this is the highest it's been for a year or so. Now, I think we're due for a little bit of a rest soon. I'm going to talk about that when we get to the technical analysis in just a sec, but just be really mindful of how quickly everyone went from fear to greed. And there's people out there, I'm going to do a video with Trader Cobb and Tone soon to talk about our different views. And as Omar put it brilliantly here, the perma bears and all these people talking about hyperwave and how the market's definitely going to 1,000, they look like geniuses. But keep in mind, a lot of these people said the top was at 3,000, and then 5,000, then 10, 15, and 20. Everyone is going to be right at one extreme or the other, just as the perma bulls. Everyone was waiting on John McAfee's next tweet at one stage and thinking he's a genius. And as always, the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's not black and white. People can't predict the future, guys. There has to be a market, two-sided market with participants on either side. Now, as we're just talking here, Ethereum is breaking out, but let's have a look at Bitcoin first. And I like to look at the 4-hour chart, because one thing I've been talking about is these technically strong patterns since this Adam and Eve looked to me like it was going to complete, with the sharper bottom and then the more rounded double bottom. Now on the 4-hour chart here, we have a little bit of divergence. The relative strength is decreasing even though price is increasing. We've had two good bull flags here, but I think we're getting to the point where we might be about to run out of steam. So let's have a look at the daily chart here. Let's go back to where I've got all my lines on my Bitfinex chart. And I think we're approaching this next level here of around 4,400, where I think it's either going to take a breather or have some sort of correction from there. Now, these cycle brackets gave us the perfect to the day of when we could expect this next push up. So let's see how we go. If we get above here, or we get to it and have a really brief another bull flag, look, $5,000 could be on the cards, because although we're overbought on the daily and the 4-hour, we need to take a bit of a breath. If we're zooming out long term, on the weekly, this is this really important level where we're going to have a new high on the weekly if we can get above 4,400, and we've got so much room to run. We're only at in the mid 40s on this RSI on the weekly time frame, and there's not a lot of overhead resistance. So don't FOMO in, guys. What I will say is that when we compare the longs to the shorts, let's just zoom out here. Longs really fell away sharply, and that's again when we can expect it's more likely to have a rally. When we compare to shorts have now fallen completely off a cliff from 43,000 down to 18,000, and this is actually when I believe we are more likely to have another leg down, or at least a correction, when nobody's expecting it. Everyone's become bullish. Look at that greed indicator, and now the shorts nearing record low. So that's what I'm seeing at the moment. We'll have a quick look at Ethereum here. It's just broken that target out to a new high. Let's see if we can get a close above there. But $180 is that 200-day moving average. Be great to see it have a pause here and come back and use this 165, 170 level as support for another leg high to get above $200 and sort of retest these levels here. Now, Litecoin has been the weakest, and again, on that 4-hour chart, you can really sort of notice the significant divergence here as other coins have really made stronger highs. Litecoin's just broken out there now. But one thing I do want to show you for those guys that have stayed the length of the video is Maker USDC on Coinbase. Now, I found this morning when I was checking the Maker price. What do you guys think? Is Maker about to be listed on Coinbase? Again, this is one that's had a fantastic run, starting to get a little bit overextended on the 4-hour, on the daily. Tremendous run from, well, even $300 back here in December. Huge run recently. I love Maker, decentralized finance, everything they're doing. The final one just to have a look at is EOS. Guys, be mindful. It has gone from $1.50 to $4.50. Huge percentage gains there if you guys did get on board this one early. It's broken through its 200-day moving average. It's all healthy as long as we keep having this stair-step pattern up and using these moving averages to pull into as a cushion. So at the moment, hopefully I've given you a little bit to look at. Bigger picture, we now are just waiting to see whether this rolls over, what it looks like when it rolls over. Does the huge volume come in that wants to send us to that one more lower low, or do we continue to get these healthy corrections, these bull flags, and continue to press higher? If we do roll over, I'll be looking at the coins that have run the hardest for the biggest shorting opportunities and percentage gain winners. I'll continue to keep you guys up to date with that. Plenty of posts for members. I will be having a week off at some stage, guys, when the baby comes. And when that does happen, I'll be focusing on, obviously, our premium area and having a time away from public content creation. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. Check out our housing documentary if you haven't already. Smash that like button, subscribe, share these videos around, and thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers.